G'day everyone, thought I'd pop in for another FAQ day. Really I had not much else to talk about. There was one rumour that I'll talk about with you all. Just going to give this a few minutes though for everyone to pop on board. I'm just going to say hi in the chat. So if you are in here, please say hi. G'day. Oop, forgot to turn that down. Because I'm going to give it a couple of minutes for everyone to pop on. So I'd love to see you all jump in and say hi. Hey Oreo, how are you? Boy, you're up late. What is the time over there? Let me just check what time it is over seas. Well, we're looking in London at the moment. It's 1:32. I'm not sure what time that would be in Italy. Los Angeles is 5:32. New York's 8:32. Dave said you're looking older. Well, I'm 1 year older today, guys, so it is my birthday. Thanks, Chris. I know, I should be having a beer with you guys. I'm having a coffee. It's bloody cold. What is it? It's only 6 degrees Celsius here this morning. It's freezing. I may be looking a year older, but I'm still as attractive as ever. Oh, God, love it. That's why I wanted to pop in with you guys. I mean, you guys are like friends to me, so I really wanted to pop in and, you know, hop on my birthday for a while with you all. So who have we got? Oreo's here. Judowski. Good day, David. Chris is also here as well, saying have another Corona. You can have one for me over there in California. At least you'll be nice and warm over there. Dave says I'm looking older. Let's Go Fishing said hello, David. Matt says hi. Dominic's happy birthday. Thank you so much, Dominic. Matthew Fry said hi. Oreo 2:32. Wow, Oreo, you're up late. I've just been watching the Australian soccer team. We went down. We lost, unfortunately, this morning. Oh, well. So we're out of the World Cup now. David's saying hi. Happy birthday, mate. Thank you so much. Matt's saying happy birthday. Jean, happy birthday. Oreo's also saying happy birthday. David Johnson's happy birthday. Matthew Fry. Viva Valley is also saying happy birthday. Thanks so much, guys. I'm going to go out for a lovely dinner with Kerry tonight. I think I'm going to go and have Thai. So I'm looking forward to that this evening. Apart from that today, I'll go out for a nice coffee once I've finished with you guys. And then I'll do some wedding editing this afternoon. It's today, Snowdrip. It's actually right now. You know what? The funny thing is, if you're in Europe and America, I could celebrate this birthday twice with you because we're a day ahead, remember? So I could pop on board and share another birthday with you guys tomorrow. Have a look at this image. This is where I'm going tomorrow with Kiara. I'm going to go and do a shoot there. Check out this waterfall that I'm going to look at tomorrow. It's called Hopetown Falls. So I'm really looking forward to going tomorrow. I'm hoping that we can get in. There's a little fence here, but I'm hoping that we can get in on the side here, just next to it, and then I can do a bit of video of Kiara in this area. I might take some stills as well, I'll see, but I'm really looking forward to going in. So this is an exciting road trip that we're doing tomorrow. I feel like doing a little bit of video footage because I've been doing stills and video for a while, but I may concentrate on video tomorrow, but I'll see. But this is the location that I'm actually going to tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to it. So it's Hopetown Falls here in Victoria. I just adore it. We have some just amazing places. Snowdrip said you've earned yourself a sub. Oh, thank you so much for joining us, Snowdrip. Glad you've popped on board. David's saying, yeah, gorgeous. I know. How pretty is it? It's just stunning. I'm going to talk about that new announcement in a minute. Well, what I think it's probably going to be, and it seems to be everyone is saying the same thing, but we'll have a chat about that in a second. How's the volume of this too? Because it seems to be up pretty loud. Is it okay? It's not peaking, everyone? Just let me know if that volume is okay on that audio. Just going to make sure it's not distorting at all. So let me know in the comments before we continue. So test, 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it okay? Or am I peaking a little bit? I know, Oreo, it is. How lucky are we to have something like that around me? It's just beautiful. There's a lookout. There's a lookout here, which is I have one birthday, Snow, but we're a day ahead here, so I could celebrate it with you guys tomorrow as well. There is a lookout here, which is behind a fence, but I'm probably going to do the naughty thing and climb over that fence and go to an area which is through here, and you can get a view between these beautiful ferns. The audio's good, thanks, Jane. You get a beautiful view between these ferns and shoot straight between here. So that's what I'm going to actually try and look at shooting in this location. Now, hopefully it's flowing like that, but it should be stunning. It's unbelievably green like there. It's like you're in a Disneyland cartoon or something. It's just unbelievable. We're so lucky to have that sort of thing, you know, fairly close to us. Anyway, so that's where I'm going tomorrow. So hopefully you'll see something soon there as well. So if you can, guys, please too, if you can, give me a thumbs up. I've only got 7 have said a thumbs up. It does help people get, well, basically see that I'm live, and other people will pop on. Gerald says, happy birthday tomorrow. I see, I'm lucky, Gerald, because it's my birthday here, but I could also celebrate it with you tomorrow. All right, guys, let's go into this stuff, because I want to show you this quick announcement. And then we're going to have, this is going to be a Q&A day. So if you have, yeah, Wayne said, happy real birthday, thanks. If you have a question, make sure you put at David Oastler, because no one's done it yet, but it will make sure that I see it for the Q&A. And I'll give a fair bit of time coming back in Q&A, because this is what most of today is going to be about. Tomorrow I'm on this road trip, so I won't be available. I might do a live cross with Kiara somewhere. But apart from that, I'll be also live on Friday, which is Thursday, your time, US and Europe, for the normal Sony Alpha rumours and everything. We don't have Poison Ivy, Robert. That's a US thing, isn't it? Isn't Poison Ivy in US? I don't know whether you have that in Europe, do you? But we don't have Poison Ivy here. We're very safe here in Australia. All we have is snakes, sharks, crocodiles. I think we have the top 5 venomous snakes in the world here in Australia. Poisonous spiders that can kill you. Nothing to worry about, though, seriously. But we don't have poison ivy. All right, so let me just quit this. And I'm going to bring up this rumour, because I saw this morning that... I just want to make sure I blow this up a little bit, actually. Where are we? So let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Yeah, that'll be fine. All right, so I noticed in... thank you, Altric, for saying happy birthday. G'day, Tom. So I noticed this morning that the Sony Alpha rumours have said that... where was the announcement? Just got to find it now. That there was a special product. Here we go. There was a product announcement going to be tomorrow at 1500 London time. Now, what they're saying is that they think it's going to be this 400mm f4 lens. But I noticed if you're looking down here, they're saying there will be, sources have confirmed there will be a product announcement, but they're not sure what it will be yet. They're actually saying somewhere, I read, that there may be another lens announcement too, because, I mean, this is a little bit of old news, but I suppose they haven't announced what price this is going to be. I'm just looking at what Gerald said. Mention your ND filter. Yeah, I will later, Gerald. So this is the... lens. This is the 2. I think it's an F. Is it a 2.8? I don't know, f4 lens. It's a 2.8 FE lens. It's the 400mm. Now, there's no prices being mentioned yet about how much this is. So whether now this is the official releasement announcement for this, or whether there's going to be a surprise announcement, because they've actually said down here somewhere, I read that there may be a surprise spec announcement as well. So there could be something else that's actually announced as part of this. So it looks like it's going to be this announcement. Now, I don't know how much this announcement is going to really interest a lot of you. I mean, it certainly will interest wildlife photographers, and it certainly will interest sport shooters who go for this type of lens. I mean, it's massive, but they're saying in here they're wondering about if it's going to be as expensive as the Canon lens. And I noticed here that the Canon version of this lens, let me just move this. This is the Canon version over here. I've noticed that it's $10,000. Well, it's actually $9,999. That's the price that that's going for. So that's $10,000. So if you get this as a guide, It'll give you an idea about how much that hopefully Sony will be sort of making this lens. And the other one is the Nikon version of this lens. So that's the Canon version. This is the Nikkor version. The Nikkor version is even more expensive. The Nikon is just over $11,000, so it's around about $1,200 dearer than the Canon version. So it is going to be interesting to see where they're going to place or price that lens. And, you know, sometimes Sony can be way over. So it is going to be interesting to see what they announce the pricing of that lens. But it does look beautiful. I'd love to try it out, actually. But it does look like a stunning lens. So that's really the only announcement on that stage. But I did want to talk about, because someone just asked about the A7S announcement, and I just noticed this came up this morning as well. Let me just see if I can move this down. A German book author, I know that they had references to the A7S III before, and that was on this German site talking about selling this book, and it had a reference on there to the A7S III, but it's been taken out. So whether that German author was just guessing about when the A7S III was going to be announced, and he thought it may have been soon, but anyway, that reference has now been taken out. And I noticed if you look down here, let me just reduce this size just a little bit. I noticed down here as well that they've actually said that the German author who listed the A7S III book now removed the A7S reference. I'm pretty sure anyway that the A7S will be announced in late 2018 only. And before that, we might get a new A6-700. Stay tuned, as a rumour will be posted today about this. So they're going to announce a rumour later on about this announcement. So I think looking at this, and this doesn't really surprise me at all, to be honest, because the way I've been thinking about this, I really did expect them to probably announce the A7S III at Photokina at the end of the year, and I think that's September, I think. Now, that's probably only going to be the announcement. Now, if the announcement goes like the other announcements, well, then you're going to have to wait 4 to 8 weeks after that announcement for it to become in stock. So if you said it was mid-September, I'm not quite sure when Photokina's on. You might be able to chime in the chat, but if say Photokina was sort of mid-September or whatever, then you're mid-October, mid-November, you know, it could be the end of November before you even see that camera, or potentially early on next year. They may even just announce that camera at Photokina. I think the holdup is going to be that new EVF and everything that was coming out. I think it was the EVF or the LCD screen, I think. I can't remember. I think it was the LCD, actually, or the EVF. I can't remember. But there was new technology that Sony were announcing that has way more detail in the EVF. Like, I think it was double the amount that you're seeing now. And I think it may have been the LCD, actually, on the back. So I think you might find that they're waiting on that technology to be released and become mainstream before that's released. I can't see them releasing an A7S III unless it has that technology in it. Because that's been announced, and because they said that that technology was going to be available at the end of the year, it might have pushed the A7S III back a little bit to wait for that. So that's what I'm starting to think now, that that's probably what's going to happen, is as soon as that is available and it's actually produced. I think they only had some test examples of that screen at this stage. I think once that's available, it'll be put in the A7S. I can't see them releasing an A7S III now because they're so close together, these two announcements. I really can't see them releasing an A7S III unless it has that new screen in it. So that's why it might be delayed a little bit to allow that screen to be put in. Remember too that they're also going to be competing against something that Canon is going to release, and they're also going to be competing against something that Nikon will release. Now, I'm not saying that oh, it's an EVF. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, so I'm not saying that Canon will be better cameras, but why wouldn't Sony want to put that new EVF onto that new camera? It would be probably silly, because remember, this is going to be their state-of-the-art camera for video, and you need a really good video screen for for video, because particularly if you're doing manual focus, because to get that really crisp focus, you really do need a really good EVF. And that's one of the problems with the A7 III. The resolution on that EVF is not really good enough to be doing manual focus. And remember, the A7S III is going to be a video camera. That's the thing that you've got to understand about that. So they're going to target that at videographers. Now, I'll probably buy it, but I'm doing Fusion, but I'll still be more than likely just using that for video, not for stills, as I've already got the A9 and the A7 III and the A7R II. So I do believe that that's probably now what they're waiting for. That screen probably almost likely is definitely going to go into the new A7S III. And like I did remember reading about that new EVF, and it was only going to be available at the end of the year. So we may be lucky to see that later this year actually released in the shops, but I've got a feeling it might be announced later this year, and it could even be really early next year before we actually get it in the shops. But we're going to have to wait and see with that one. And I think that's the one that they're going to be targeting against the Canon version and the Nikon version that probably is just going to blow those out of the water. So that's what I think is probably going to happen. So it's sort of changed my thinking a little bit now. They probably will release an A6-700 to bide over in that time. So it wouldn't surprise me if they release an A6-700 before that date to tide people over, particularly in the video side of things. You know, and whether then if they do it that way, both cameras aren't competing against one another. Like I said to you earlier in some other live shows, that I don't think that they're going to release the A6-700 and the A7S III at the same time. I think that would be a really silly things to do, because they both could take sales away from each other. That's why I think now that the A7S III is going to be really late this year. It may be announced at Photokina, but I don't think it'll be announced till really late this year, and possibly even the start of next year before it's actually released. So the A6-700 may be released earlier than that, and that could be one particularly that could be announced at Photokina, or it could be dropped anytime, to be honest. They do that sometimes. They do drop them all of a sudden, and that could be something that happens here, that you might find that the A6-700 is announced a little bit earlier to tide people over in that respect, and then they're not taking money away from each other. Another month or so, they should be up to date with the A7 III orders, you would hope. So then, basically, if that happens too, it's not going to take away sales from the A7 III, because they probably would have caught up with orders by that stage. So probably then is the perfect time to release a new an A6-700. And I'm really hoping that that will give us that articulating screen and 4K 60p, even like I've said to you before, if it's for a very short time. And I think that might be what they offer on that. Remember, they've got to make that camera different enough to this, or the new version of this, the A6-700, and they also have to make it different enough or enough features to make you just not jump up to the A7 III. So I've got a feeling that the A6-700 may be the one that they release that is the true one for vloggers. Sony have to answer this area sooner or later. So I think that is going to be an interesting scenario that could come up. Anyway, we've got to wait and see about that, but I really am excited about what's going to happen and what's coming up. Like I said, we just have to wait and see now, but they're my timings. And let me know in the live chat whether you think I'm probably right with that. I'll be curious to know what you guys think about that. But let's wait and see. In other news, I've got a meeting next Tuesday with someone here in Melbourne, and it's quite exciting because I'm trying to get a way that I can review other hardware for you guys, and particularly the Sigma lenses, and even some more pro photo stuff and things like that. Well, I've got a meeting next week to see how we can mutually benefit each other. So hopefully that meeting will work, and then I'm going to be able to start reviewing all the Sigma lenses for you and things like that. Because I really would love, like I've told you, I would love to be reviewing the 105 and the 135 particularly, but even all their other lenses that they've announced. They also, this place also, I'm not going to say who they are yet, but this place also has an awful lot of other gear and things like that I may be able to get to review for you guys as well. Now, it will be totally impartial, because there's definitely not going to be anything about me saying I have to give the perfect reviews on these lenses or anything about that. So that's certainly going to be one aspect from my side of it, because like you know, I'm not sponsored by anyone and I don't want to go down that avenue at this stage. So It certainly I'll be giving you honest reviews about how I would use the gear. I do usually love to review the stuff that I've purchased, but it's sort of getting to the stage where I'd also love to show you things that are announced, like these Sigma lenses. So I'm really excited about having that opportunity to give you that sort of part to my channel, so the channel may shift a little bit and start reviewing other things. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's in no way going to change the shooting reviews that I do, because that's my favourite part about the whole way I shoot, and I love sharing and teaching with live shoots. So that is still going to keep going, and that's not going to change, but it's just going to add other things. So that will come up. I also want to get back to the setting up your business and stuff as well. So I'm going to try and get back to that too, about how I've built my business and websites and everything else about that. So I will get back to that soon as well. The next video that I post obviously is going to be the live rumours show that comes up on Friday. But then probably Saturday or Sunday, I'm going to take you through that recent wedding that I did with Sarah, she's stunning. You would have seen some images I posted. I'm going to take you through that and talk about my lighting, what lenses I used, exposure I used, the posing I used, and everything as well. So stay tuned for that. So I'm going to take you through that wedding in the coming days. So there's some really interesting stuff that I'm going to be sharing with you guys in the coming days. But let's open it up to Q&A, because I'd love to. This is what today's about. It's not really about the rumours, but I just wanted to bring that up, those rumours that have just been announced. And hopefully I can expand on that on the live show on Friday with you guys, or Thursday, US and European time. So let's go to Q&A. So fire away if you have any questions, guys, about anything, because I'd love you to ask some questions. Everyone's just saying happy birthday. Really appreciate that. I'm an old fart now. I love it. Snowdip said you've earned a sub, so glad you've joined us, Snowdip. David Johnson's talking about where I'm going tomorrow, that waterfall, yeah, with Kiara. It's going to be beautiful. I can't wait to get out there. I'm really excited about doing it tomorrow. I want to do a bit of videography. Ario said, you're so lucky to have those amazing places around you. I know, I so am, Ario. We are very lucky here. What else have we got? Sounds fine. Just talking about the audio, because I was curious if the audio was not very good. Everyone's still just saying happy birthday, which I'm fine. Oh, now Gerald said to talk about the ND filter. Let me just bring this up, because I'll show you the exact one I'm using. Open a new window. I'll just log on to my Amazon page, and I'll show you the one that I recommend, the filters. Just because, in case if you are thinking about it, I've found it's incredible. I'm just opening up the page, so have a chat amongst yourselves for a minute. Let me have a look. Here we go. All right, so this is the one that I use. Let me bring this one up, because people keep asking me about which filters that I actually use. Now, I'm using this one. Let me just see if I can move it around. So these are the ones that I use. They're ProMasters, variable ND filters. I think they're around about $90 odd, but that price can change, obviously. But these are amazing. Some of the filters that I've used, and I've tried Hoya, I've tried all different ones. Some of them particularly leave a bit of a color cast on the image, and then you've got to correct them. It's not so bad if you're dealing with stills, but if you're dealing with video, it can be a real pain. And I've found that these are incredibly high quality. The color that comes out of these is amazing. And I'm not sponsored by these guys. I bought these myself. But if you are in the market for video, and this is the actual filter here. Let me just... This is the actual one I use. I'm just going to see if I can get it focused. So these are ProMaster filters. So this is the one that I use. It's a variable ND. You can see it goes darker as I actually turn it. You can see there it comes through. Great quality, well made. It's all metal. Beautiful though, and like I said, there's no cast through those at all, and they're definitely the best ones that I've found that I've used. Now, there are millions of different ND filters out there, but particularly I'm really happy with these ones. And I really like the color that comes out of these. And like I said, I've been shooting with that all the time on my 55mm. All the videos you've seen of Kiara and everyone else has been shot with that variable ND on there. And it's all been that ProMaster one. So if you are in the market for one, I mean, obviously you can check the link, but it's fantastic. So yeah, that's the one that I recommend anyway, is that ProMaster 49mm one. So let me just quit that. And we'll go back to questions, because a lot of people have been asking me about those, which filters would I recommend. Snowdrip said, are those glasses real or just a filter? You're talking about these? No, they're real. Wow, that's a lens. I know that too. Yeah, 400 f2.8's massive, isn't it? It really is a massive lens. I thought they would announce something silly like the A7S III. And I've mentioned that, Robert, and I don't think that's going to be until later this year. Like I said, happy birthday, mate. Thank you so much. Michael said, yeah, it is a new EVF. And like I said, I did remember that EVF was shown and it had about 2 times the resolution. That's why I mentioned to you that that EVF particularly is going to be amazing for video. For manual focus will be stunning. I mean, it even will be great. Look, obviously that's probably going to come out in the next new A9. It'll probably come out in the new A7R3 or R4 whenever that's released. So it's just a matter of time before that new EVF is sort of brought down to all the other cameras. But I think that's definitely the reason why the A7S III has not been released yet or even announced yet. I think that's probably what they're going to be waiting for. What else have we got? Oreo said, I think the release timing of the A6700 will depend on the sales curve of the A7 III. Yeah, and that's why I said I agree with that, Oreo. I think probably once they've caught up to the pre-orders and sales of the A7 III, that's probably when they will announce an A6700. I think that's probably all they're waiting on at this stage. Clearly at the moment, they probably don't have any need to release that camera because the sales have been so strong for the A7 III particularly. I think there's still a 4-week back order on some of those cameras. So I don't think you're going to find it's going to be released very soon. There may be an announcement, but I just don't think they're going to announce that until they've caught up to pre-orders. And I think that's still around about 4 weeks away. But you never know. We'll wait and see. And like I said, I'm like everyone else, hoping that that does come out. I'm certainly hoping that I can get the A7 III. And I've mentioned about this before that I'm really amazed now with the A9 and the A7R3, the A7 III, about how good the low light noise is on those cameras. I really don't need an A7S III for low light anymore, because honestly, I never shoot in pitch darkness. I just don't do that. I'm adding light and things like that for the type of shoots that I do. I'm not saying no one will have a use for that. They will. If you're a full-on videographer and you want to go away and not use lighting and things like that, that will be amazing to have that unbelievable ISO that camera will have. The thing that I want that camera for, obviously, is the 4K 60p. That's the thing that I'm really waiting for that camera, because I would love to be able to shoot 4K 60p and then slow it down in post. At the moment, I'm just doing that all in 1080p so that I can slow it down in post. You know, and they may improve things like put an ND filter internally on that camera. There may be things, and these are the things that I'm expecting that they probably will announce in that camera. I'm hoping that it will have an ND filter built in. I'm hoping that it has 4K 60p. I don't think it'll have an articulating screen, but there's some of the things that I'm really hoping that the A7S III will have. And I'll buy that camera. There's no doubt that I'll buy that camera once it's announced. So I'm just waiting like everyone else. But I hope they do postpone it and put that new EVF in there, because that would be something that, you know, if they pulled that announcement back 4 weeks to put the EVF in there, I really think that's a good thing to wait for, because more than likely, if they released it early and then they released another camera with that EVF, everyone would be whinging, saying they really wish they'd waited to get that new EVF in it. So it's an important thing to wait for. So I think it's a great thing, and I'm really looking forward. Can't wait to see what they announce with that camera. It's going to be exciting times. And like I said to you too, they may be holding off on that camera to really put a nail in the coffin of Nikon and Canon with their mirrorless announcements. It could be that that's what they're waiting on doing. More people saying happy birthday. Thank you so much. Thomas said, buying the A7 III body only instead of with kit, and I will purchase the Sony 24-70 2.8 lens to hold me over. Yep. Now, I noticed some people were buying the A7 III with the kit because it was a way that they could get the camera a lot earlier than just buying the body. I noticed I read other people were getting the camera the other day from B&H because they ordered the A7 III with the kit lens, and then they were just going to sell the kit lens off and basically not lose much money at all, but at least they had the camera in the meantime. So it is something, if you are really waiting on getting that camera and you don't want to wait a fair bit of time, you can look around to see if you can get the A7 III body with the kit lens, the 24-70 f4 lens, because if, I think it's 28-70, I can't remember. Oh no, it is 24-70. Yeah, because you could actually get that as well, and then just sell that lens if you wanted to. I think it was 28, wasn't it, the kit lens? So it is a way anyway of getting the lens quicker or the camera quicker if you did want to do it, because not everyone will want to buy the A7 III with that kit lens. Lance said, hi, have you done any weather testing with the A7 III? If not, have you heard from reliable sources? Yeah, look, Lance, honestly, I've used the cameras in quite bad conditions, like normal, what I say is normal rainy conditions. I'm not silly with it though. There's no way I would be silly with it, but I've actually used my A7 R2 in really quite bad conditions. When I went to New Zealand, I used it under really close to waterfalls, and it was really quite wet when I got out, and there was no issues at all. You've got to make sure that you're using lenses with sealing though, so that's one of the beauties with something like the Batis. You know, if I'm using the 85 Batis, well, it does have weather sealing, so that's one interesting difference between, say, getting the Batis and getting the Sony 85 1.8, that it does have weather sealing. So you do have to make sure if you are going to use it in, you know, rain or whatever you're going to be using it, that your lenses are sealed as well. But like any camera, there are tests that you see out there that were throwing hoses and things over it like that, and honestly, no sane photographer is going to be using their cameras in that type of scenario. I did see the test done where the weakness was the bottom, the battery draw, so clearly you wouldn't want to put it down into a puddle. That's where you'd have to be a little bit careful. But if you treat these cameras sensibly, the weather sealing's fine. You just don't be stupid with it, and like I said, I'm not ever going to be stupid with my gear anyway. To be honest, I'm in a lucky situation though too, because if I was doing a wedding and it was extremely wet, I would have my assistant hold an umbrella over me. But I'm still confident that the camera would survive because I've done it before. So I don't think the weather sealing is anywhere near as bad as what others are saying it is. You just have to be sensible with it, you know, not silly. Joby Stroby said, happy birthday, thanks mate. Michael said happy birthday as well. Thank you so much, Michael. V for Valley said, hey, just like me. Is your birthday too? Is it V for Valley? If it is, happy birthday. Gerald said, use my A7 III in sand and water of the Caribbean Sea in St. Martin, and it held up fine. Exactly, Gerald. I really think it's a non-issue. The thing that you do have to be careful of, and Gerald will be aware of this also, is I never change lenses if I'm on a beach. That's one thing that I will not do, and that's any camera. I do not recommend changing lenses at all. I would take two camera bodies, have two different lenses on, and not change lenses, because it's very dangerous because you get sand blowing and stuff like that, and that becomes a nightmare for mirrorless, or any camera actually, but mirrorless particularly. When I did change lenses, if I do beach shoots, I'll go back into the car and change the lens there. I won't do it outside. So that's one thing. I'd worry about sand more than I would, honestly, with water, because sand is particularly bad with gear. So you have to be very careful with sand. And salt water, yes, as someone else has just mentioned there. Where's the beer, birthday beer? I'm going to have a beer tonight. Michael, it's too cold. It's only 7 degrees Celsius here today. It's freezing. I'm having a coffee. I'm going to be going out tonight to Thai, so I'll probably have a Singer beer or something like that tonight. Lance said salt water. Yes, I agree. Salt water is bad. Gerald said, yes, seawater. I just wiped it off after shooting models in the surf and had no issues. I do the same thing, Gerald. Look, the point is, if you're going to baby your gear that much, honestly, well, then you're really stopping what you can shoot. At the end of the day, you've got to use your gear, you know? And if you look at all my lenses, seriously, don't ever buy lenses from me. Look, the lens will work fine, but, you know, if you look at them, they're always marked. They'll always have these scuffs. And I shouldn't say don't buy lenses from me because, look, I've broke the cap on this one, I think. See, I actually broke the cap on the 18 to 105. So the lenses are always going to have scuff marks and stuff when I'm using it. You know, I mean, it's, like I said, what's this one like? My 55 is, you know, the 55 has been scuffed and stuff like that. Like, some people really take, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do. Some people do take really good care of their gear. I use the gear and I'm quick with it. Like, I'll throw it in the bag or whatever I'm going to do and then just grab another lens out or whatever I'm going to do. I would never sell a lens, though, that didn't work perfectly, and that's the difference. The lenses will always be perfect, but they are going to have all this scuff marks and things like that because I'm using the lenses. And it's the same with a camera. If I'm going to do a beach shoot, and I do them all the time in summer here, I'm in the water with the girls. I'm actually out there doing it all. I'm not going to worry about that, and I'll just dry it off. Because if it means me missing a shot or not getting a shot, I'm going to get that shot. Like I said, don't be too scared about using your gear. It's a lot better than what you actually think it is. I can't tell you the number of times I've even dropped my gear and it's been okay. What else? Thomas said, I know the lenses you use, think they are great, but out of curiosity, do you think the GM lenses are priced to throw you in a volcano? But do you think there are any advantages to get the GM? All right, so you're saying because I haven't got the GM lenses, Thomas? Well, no, look, they are. The GM lenses clearly are a step up from the normal Sony lenses, but I've found particularly now that with the ISO that these cameras now are capable of doing, I just don't need the 2.8 lenses anymore. And to be honest, the quality is that close. If you looked at my f4 2.8, the 70-200, and you looked at the G Master 70-200, I guarantee you a client couldn't tell the difference between those two lenses. A pixel peeper might, yes, but I'm not selling for pixel peepers. I'm selling for the clients that purchase my services. They don't give a hoot if I'm using an f4 lens, a 70-200 f4, or whether I'm using a G Master 70-200 2.8. And remember now, the ISO on these cameras is clearly nuts. And all I do is up the ISO, and I've never had someone say that the images are noisy. I've never had my clients complain that the images are noisy. So I really think it's not an issue anymore. If you need the 2.8 aperture, for instance, if you're doing very low light stuff like you were doing concerts or something where you need that fast glass, well then yes, that's fine. But I just don't need that type of gear, and I definitely don't need the weight. I seriously would prefer to buy the 70-200 f4 lens and then buy a really nice prime. But that's the way that I shoot. And remember, I do often shoot primes, and I love the 35 1.4 and the Batis. I mean, you know, I'm using that. This is a 16-35. Well, even look at this. Again, you can see that it's had a reasonable amount of abuse if you look at the lens itself. But the lens is perfect. Like, it works fantastic. These things are built really tough. But again, this is the f4 version. Now, do I need the 2.8? No. I'm happy with what the 16-35 f4 version gives me. I haven't got the... I've got it here. You know, I just adore this lens. I mean, this is my favourite lens, which is the 35 1.4. That's my favourite lens, the Sony lens. This is the one that I adore the most, and the 85, obviously. So most of my shooting is shooting with primes, so I don't need the GM lenses, and I certainly don't need the 85 1.4 because I'm happy with what the Batis gives me. But that doesn't mean I'm not interested in getting the Sigma 105, because I am interested in having a look at that, and even the 135 for a different aspect of my shooting. But yeah, I'm just really not... I don't feel the need to buy GM lenses. You certainly don't need to buy GM lenses to get amazing work, and you certainly don't need to buy GM lenses to be a successful photographer. I mean, I'm proof of that. Lance said, taking it on my long-distance hike in August, and if it rains, the Sierra nearly every day. Yeah, but you could always buy a rain guard, though, and I'd recommend that with any camera if you're dealing with going into really bad weather climates, is to get one of the, the things that you can actually stick it in, those little rain bag things that you can buy. I've even used plastic bags before, just the Ziploc bags, and cut a hole out for the lens, and I've even done that before if it's really bad. Walter said the A7 III is going gangbusters. Hard to get one. Yep, they are. They're still really hard to get those lenses. Really hard. Joe said, really hoping you get the Sigma 105 to review. I love the look of that lens. Yep, I'm hoping I can get it too, Joe. Now, whether I've got this meeting next week, whether I'll end up trying out a Canon version or something like that, or wait until the Sigma version's out, I'll have to wait and see. I noticed Mikkel has just released some videos about that lens as well, so you could check reviews that Mikkel has done. Gerald said, I did a 3-week trek through the Scottish Highlands where it rained every day, and my A7R2 held up fine. No reason to think the A7 III would be not as good. Exactly, Gerald, I agree with you. Aaron said, I just found the Sony A7 III. You've got to look at small stores. Yes, and that's a really good point too, Aaron. Don't believe that you have to go to places like Amazon and BH or wherever. Go to your local camera store and keep asking them. Keep ringing, because they get deliveries in all the time. And if you keep ringing them every week or every few days, you might find that you get one a lot sooner, and that can be a really good thing as well. Ray said, where are we? Oops. Oh, yeah, Ray said happy birthday. Thank you, Ray. Guess miss means more pink shirts. Oh, you guys. Dudowski said, what brand is better for wildlife photography? Nikon or Sony, keeping in mind the lenses like the Nikon 200 to 500? Look, if you're into wildlife at this stage, really, honestly, you're better off to stay with Nikon if you're dealing with wildlife. But clearly, if you could get when that's released, the 400mm 2.8. Sony also have the 100 to 400. Sony are getting better and better, but you clearly can't compete with Nikon's lenses at this stage if you're dealing with shooting wildlife solely. I mean, if that's the case and all you're doing, I'd just be saying stay with Nikon for this stage and just see what happens. JED Strober said an internal ND would be great with an articulating screen combined with an upgraded EVF. Yeah, you're not going to get an internal ND in the A7S III. I mean, you will not get an articulating screen with that camera. I can almost guarantee it. 2870 junk, yeah, they're not very good lenses, but you could sell it. If you wanted to get the camera, definitely you could sell it. I agree, though, that's not a very good lens, Socrates. Martin said, have you noticed any difference in image quality between the A9 and the A7 III? Look, not really, but again, I don't pixel peep. The dynamic range is a fraction better in the A7 III. That's probably about all, though. Quality-wise, very close. I still think the video is probably a fraction better on the A9 than it is in the A7 III. I think the interesting thing is with the A9, it's still, I think, the only camera that Sony have released at this stage where the video does not change between the shooting Super 35 and full frame. It's incredible for using both. The A7 III suffers a little bit if you shoot Super 35. The A9 doesn't. So you can shoot Super 35 and full frame on the A9 without having any penalty at all with ISO. So I still think the A9 is the best video camera for quality that's out there at the moment, but the A7 III has the other profiles and things like that obviously are lifted if you're dealing with shooting with profiles. I don't shoot with profiles. I only shoot the standard profile all the time, so that's the way that I'm shooting. So the A9 for me is perfect in that respect as well. I noticed Craig also from Wedding Film School shoots exactly the same as me as well. He shoots everything standard as well. So don't discount the standard Sony profile, guys. Everyone keeps asking me, what profile are you using? And they're shocked when I tell them I'm only using the standard profile. That's amazing what that gives you. So you do not need to use log unless you really need that really wide dynamic range. And then if you need that, well, then obviously you need to go for something like the A7 III. But I still believe the A9 is the best video camera out there. Stills-wise, the A7 III probably just beats it a little bit, yeah, but only very tiny and only if you're pixel peeping. A client is certainly not going to tell the difference. The A9 definitely is better in focusing, though. It's definitely a little bit better than what the A7 III is. Mario saying hello from Quebec. Hello. Thomas said, I thought about that also. I'm using the Nikon D700 right now, so I'm lazy and don't want to deal with selling it. I might wait until November to hear if new features are released, and that might be a good thing, Thomas. Beats for Less, great stream. What lens would you recommend for the A7 III? Tell me what type of shooting you use, Beats, and I'll tell you what I recommend. So just give me another comment down below. Mario Photos saying happy birthday, thank you very much. Gerald said, did you see that Canon registered 5 cameras online, 2 digital SLRs and 3 mirrorless? Any thoughts? No, I haven't seen that, Gerald. I'll have to have a look at that later on. I still believe, if you think about how long it's taken Sony to get to the point that they are now, I still believe it's going to take, excuse me, Canon and Nikon at least a couple of years to catch up to where Sony are now. And remember, Sony are just going to keep releasing things. So I'll be very surprised if what Canon and Nikon release are better than what Sony has at this stage. But we still have to wait. It could be possible. And again, I'm excited about whatever's going to be announced because clearly it's going to push Sony and we're only going to get better things from Sony. So I think innovation is a good thing and we should be encouraging it. So I really hope Canon and Nikon bring out great systems, actually, because it will only push Sony to do more. And that's what I really hope happens. But I haven't seen that yet, though. But it's going to happen. They have to release that soon. They're saying early next year, I believe, for their mirrorless. Aaron said, you're doing a great job on your YouTube channel. Keep it up. Thank you so much, Aaron. Thomas said, laugh out loud. Sand washing. Just have to have a drink. Michael said, it's crazy how companies like Nikon release an outstanding product like the D850, but 6 to 8 months later, people still can't get cameras because they can't fill supply. I know, isn't that terrible, Michael? That is awful, what's happening there, and it must cost them people switching because you would get sick of waiting. It's awful. I agree with you. It really is bad. After that amount of time, they really should have been able to fill that order. Gerald said, yes, never change lenses on beach or in the moving. Yeah, never change your lenses on beaches because it's a nightmare. Michael said, Patreon time, shots. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing some Patreon, Michael, just to add something extra for you guys. And then obviously if you don't want to join it, you don't have to. But I am definitely thinking about adding Patreon and then doing more live stuff in that side of it as well. So that could possibly be coming in the future. It's something that I might think about, and then also I can be more live with answering questions for you guys on Patreon time as well. It may be also another way that I can stay more independent, you know, like not moving more into those sponsorships sort of side of things and like that, and keeping it more neutral for you guys as well. So it may be something that I can look at as well. G'day Darren, good to see you here. Thomas said, I know I wouldn't be able to tell either. That's talking about the quality of looking at images. You can't. Unless you're a pixel peeper, you're never going to be able to tell. Where are we? Gerald said, yes, I was in the water along with the models in the Caribbean Sea in St. Martin. No problems at all. And worth it to be that close. Yeah, at the end of the day, you've got to use your gear to shoot. If you're too scared about using it, you're never going to get the shot that you like. Just wipe it off. Ray said, I had salt water splash on my camera, dried off and wiped areas clean, and camera works amazingly. Yeah, they will, as long as you're careful with it. Halloween Horror Night in Orlando, Florida. I only shoot hobby. Is it Halloween, is it? But lots of shooting in the dark. The other shooting does not need the low f-stop. Oh, so I think you're talking about the shooting f2.8. Can maybe just Sharpie the scuffs away? Maybe, but I don't worry about it, Gene, honestly. I just use the gear. I very rarely ever sell lenses. So for me, they're to be used. And, you know, and I'm not... Remember, I'm a working pro. So for me particularly, the gear for me is to be used. And I know if you're more of a hobbyist, you might want to put them inside covers, and some people put them inside socks and things like that to protect your gear if you do keep selling them and stuff like that. My gear is more based around using it professionally and then write it off in tax or whatever. So for me particularly, I haven't got the time to be that delicate with the gear that I'm using, because when I'm doing in shoots, I have to do the things quick. So, you know, like I said, I'm just chucking it in the bag and doing whatever I have to do. I don't use lens caps ever, you know, and things like that. So, yeah, for me, it's more important to be using the gear and use it quickly. Michael said, Dave, you don't use zooms at all for weddings. Yes, I do, Michael. I use the 16-35, so I definitely use that for the wide angle stuff. So I definitely use the 16-35 for that. And sometimes I'll even use that. If I need to go wider than the 16-35, I'll use the f4 version, the 10-18, because you can use that at 12mm. So I often use that at weddings. The other one I do use, excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough this morning. The other thing that I do use is the 70-200. I always use that lens. Not always, but probably 90% of weddings I'll use it when I need compression. So when I'm shooting outdoors, the formals of the bride and groom, I will use the 70-200 to use compression to bring them forward or the background forward. So I will still always use it, yes. But most of my wedding work, honestly, I really could get by with shooting a wedding with just those two lenses. I could do it, the 35 and the 85. I probably could do it. I may get in trouble occasionally if I need to do the group shots where I have to get wide and the 35 is not big enough. But probably 80% of my shots are using those two lenses, the 35 and the 85. But I do use the 70-200, yes. I do use it in weddings. For certain shots, though, and I'll only grab them out occasionally. JD Strober said, David, apart from an ND and a polarizing filter, do you recommend using protective filters? No. I don't, JD. Look, I know that you can have arguments about this, that people have said they've saved their lenses. I've also had people say that they've destroyed their lenses when they've broke, because when they've broke and smashed, they've actually broken and smashed the lens, the front lens. If you look at Tony Northrup, go back through some of his videos, and he showed where he actually grabbed some keys and he scratched the front lens of his... I can't remember what it was. It was a 2.8 lens, and he actually scratched it quite severely, and it didn't show up in the photos. Now, you'll only see scratches in lenses if you're dealing with shooting f-stop up around f9 to f22, whatever it will be. You'd be amazed if you shoot wide open that you won't see any scratches at all. Now, I never, ever use lens covers. I don't use the covers at all, the caps, and I also will never put the protective filters on. Those protective filters were designed to get out UV, I believe, which could affect film in those days. That's what they were designed for. That's why they're called protective UV filters. They don't have any effect at all on digital cameras. But once again, you've got this $2,000 lens, and then you're putting this cheap, even $100 one, you're putting this cheaper filter on the front of the lens, which has to affect the optics. I just don't believe in doing it, and I really don't think you should. Like I said, again, you can just be too overprotective with your gear. You shouldn't need to have a protective filter on. And I've also seen people, when they've dropped them, that filter has gone in and they can't get it off. It's destroyed the lens because they can't physically get it off. I just don't recommend it. But that's me. Some of you other people out there are going to say, yes, you recommend it 100%. I can only talk to you from my perspective. I just don't think you should use them. Thomas said, I agree, your photos are great. Oh, thank you, Thomas. Now I'll have to try your coffee to see if that is just as great. Thomas said, my local Best Buys have been putting out displays of the A7 IIIs, but still back-ordered, yep. And they are in a lot of the bigger shops particularly. Ray said, I said that before, the A7 III in small stores, Aaron. I got mine on release. And that's what you've got to do, yeah, try smaller stores. John, or if you haven't, put it on pre-order because you're never going to get it otherwise. John said, I received my pre-order A7 2 months ago from a small local store. Oreo said another plus for the small stores, if you develop a good relationship with them, if they know you're interested in a product and they get a copy, they will call you. And that's exactly what my store does, Oreo. They always look after me. Elsie said, CIO David. Ray Davis said, if in the States, guys, look at a beach camera or photo center in New Jersey, they should be available. Okay, well, that's interesting. Hi, Stacey. Said, I agree, check local suppliers for gear. That is how I got my 28 to 75 Tamron. I walked in and they got just one in the shipment, bought it in that minute. Wow, how lucky were you? That's fantastic. Ralph saying, happy birthday. Thank you so much, Ralph. Really appreciate that. Joe said, Pixel Connection in Avon OH has the A7 III. Thanks for letting everyone know, guys, because some people might take advantage of this. Mario saying, hi to you all. Tarbo said, hi, David. I shoot the A7R III and sometimes my shutter would stuck up for 30 seconds before capturing the frame. Have you? No, I haven't. That sounds like it's a hardware problem. I think I might be getting that checked out. It shouldn't stick. That's something's wrong there. Oreo said my shop knew I was interested in the A7 III, but they sold them all in one afternoon and I came in, so they got another extra copy for the following day. Well, that's fantastic, Oreo. Gerald said, so right, my smaller camera store calls me whenever they get the latest gear and I get first crack to buy it. Euclid said Sigma 105 f1.4. Yes, I can't wait to try that lens. Jose said, happy birthday, have a coffee and a beer. I'll have a beer tonight, that's for sure, and I'm going to get a coffee as soon as I finish with you guys, actually. JB Strobus said, I suspect Nikon or Canon may release a medium format mirrorless system in the near future. So may Sony, though, as well, JD. I think that could happen as well. I think they should basically get their mirrorless working first, though, before they even think about that. Mario said, Nikon and Canon not have to bring something better than Sony. Technology speaking, they must, and they should by now have a better solution. Market-wise, it will take them some time. Yeah, and it will. Look, I can't see them bringing out something that's going to beat Sony, Mario. Honestly, I just can't see them doing it. Not at first, anyway. Gene said, probably a bad idea, but what are your thoughts on a zoom lenses with the beach? Well, I do use them. I use the 7200 f4, Gene. I use that a lot when I'm doing beach shoots. Because the girls can sometimes be out a little bit, I need something that can bring them in a little bit. So I have been using the 7200 when I do beach shots, and I've never had an issue. So I'd say go for it. It's fine. That's the one I use. I've only ever used the 7200 though. Where are we? I've lost the point. Where was I? I'm down here somewhere. Here we are. Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Birthday coffee. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. I will buy birthday coffee with it. Where were we? Oh, yeah, talking about the zoom. Yes, well, I do. I use a 70-200, so I have used that often. So, and I've never had an issue. Oh, someone else gave me a donation. Oh, thank you so much, Mario. Really appreciate that. Lance said Patreon as in tequila, not Patreon, laugh out loud. Oh. Yeah, well, I have been thinking about doing the Patreon. What else have we got? Gerald said, funny, I didn't understand what that meant, Michael. That's it. That's funny. Gerald said, JD Strobus, the buzz is that Nikon and Canon both will release 36 megapixel mirrorless full frame cameras. They already have the 36 megapixel sensor in-house. Nikon's may be made by Sony. Well, it probably will be. I mean, you can almost guarantee it'll be made by Sony. But I don't know. I mean, let's wait and see. I also don't really want a 36 megapixel sensor. If they bring that out as their first camera, mirrorless, I think they're going to be in trouble because most people don't need that file size. They probably want a 24. I think that'd be a bit of a mistake, jumping to that straight away. AZ Chuck said, I ordered my A7 III from B&H on May the 28th, and they shipped to me on June the 14th. Perhaps I was lucky, but just over 2 weeks. Wow, you were lucky. That's fantastic. John said, my man, I used a 25 and 85. Yep. Ben said, do you mean 35, John? Or, g'day, Ben. Just going through this live chat with everyone. Thought I'd pop in on my birthday just to be with some friends. Hey, David, do you use Blackmagic Web Presenter for live streaming? No, I'm using Wirecast, Michael. So that's the one that I'm using. I'm using Wirecast Pro. It's not cheap, but I found it's really probably the best that's out there for what I'm doing. So it's just Wirecast Pro. MND CD said, looking for a nice all-round lens for my A7 III when I get it in a week. Thinking about the 85 from Sony for under 600. You can't go wrong with that lens, mate. That is a fantastic lens, the 85. Incredibly sharp, fast. It's native. You got the focus button on there. It is a really good lens. And if my baddest died tomorrow, that's probably the lens that I would also buy. Michael said, if so, is it good? I'm not sure what that means, Michael. Kelly gave me birthday coffee. Thank you so much, Kelly. Shaku said, I can't thank you enough. I got the A7 III and the Sigma MC11 adapters. The pictures from that camera are so beautiful about color science. I actually love the A7 III colors a lot. Yeah, the color science is a non-issue. That's only Canon shooters that have nothing else to whinge about. Actually are talking about the Sony color science is no good and it doesn't match Sony. I really think that's totally irrelevant now. The Sony color science is easily as good as anything out there. Kevin, Michael, thank you so. Oh wow, Michael, thank you so much. You guys have been amazing today. What else? Kevin said, I ordered my A7 III and Tamron 2875 on June the 3rd from B&H, hoping it shows up soon. Yeah, it shouldn't be long. I think that they're trying to fix those lenses, and I do believe now that those lenses are having a hardware problem. Remember when the Tamron first announced that it was going to be... a firmware was going to be released in 2 weeks. Well, that's now been way over that. What's that, a month or so? I think if it was that simple, they would have already released a firmware update on that. I do think it's a hardware issue. That's why I'm recommending for people that have the Tamron and it's got an issue to send it back and wait for a replacement. That's what I'm saying to people now. And this is why I laugh when people said I was being paid to do those reviews, because I wouldn't be saying that if I was paid to do those reviews. I think it probably is hardware. That's what I'm thinking, that if you have to disengage the lens, put the lens back on for it to then start working, it seems to me it's like the contacts are having an issue, and it may have been a manufacturing fault. So I do say to all of the people that follow me particularly, if you've got one of the Tamron lenses that are having an issue, I would definitely probably send it back. Or contact the store where you bought it from and make sure they'll give you that option in writing, that if Tamron don't release a fix in firmware, that you can send it back for an exchange. That's what I probably would do. So Kevin, it might be a blessing in disguise that you haven't got that lens yet, because you may get one of the new lenses that doesn't have that issue. Mario gave me a donation. Thank you so much, Mario. Beer tonight, and even if it's cold. Javier said, I got the A7 III and after watching your videos, I ordered the 28-75. It's awesome, sharp and nice contrast. I have no issues with the autofocus. That's fantastic. That lens, like I said, I probably will get one of those lenses eventually. I'm definitely going to wait now for the new ones though. But if you have a good version of those lenses, that was amazing, that lens. I loved it. Beats said, a lens for live streaming. I was thinking the Samyang 35 1.4. Any recommendation? I wouldn't be getting Samyang. Beats, because there may be an issue with the focusing. I'd stay native if I was you. I'm using the A6 500 now, and I'm using the 24 1.8. I used the other day, I did a video with the... I haven't got it here, actually. Oh, yeah, I did. I used a video the other day with the the Sony 35 2.8. That worked fantastic as well. When I did the video the other day talking about APS-C lenses, I used this lens the other day and it's really sharp. I'd be staying with Sony lenses, to be honest, because you want the autofocus. Why not use autofocus? It's capable of doing it. Use an autofocus lens. Save up and buy a Sony lens. For video anyway, if you're saying stills, I'd say no problem at all. Sigma MC11's great. Yeah, it's fantastic. As long as you're doing stills. If you're doing video, I wouldn't recommend it. If you're doing video, fusion type work, stills and video, you need native lenses. So I'd stay away from it if you're doing video. If you're doing stills, not a problem at all. Thank you so much, Michael, for the donation. Really appreciate it. Love that you guys do what you do for me. Are there any cheaper alternatives to the Sony E-mount 70-300 or 70-200 for the Sony? Well, I'd get the 70-200 f1.4, which is what I'm using. Brilliant lens. You don't have to get the 2.8 version, Vishal. Get the f4 version. I adore it. It's fantastic. Johnny said, hi, David. Hi, Johnny. How are you? Good to see you in here. KS Spec said, I was able to get my A7 III thanks to my local store. See, it's showing you that if you're having issues getting your camera, go to local stores. They seem to be getting them a lot more than what the big stores do. Shaq said, MC11 works flawlessly on my 2470 f2. Well, there you go. Gerald said, I used my 24-105 f4 on the beach shoot in St. Martin. It worked great. Yep, fantastic lens, Gerald. Really good travel lens, that one as well. John said 25. Oh, the baddest. Okay, yep. 85. Yep. Thomas said go to work. He's going to work. Thanks for your time, David. Keep up the great work and look forward to seeing more YouTube posts. Thanks so much, Thomas. Barry saying hi. Robert's waving. Hi, Robert. Maria said, from a business point of view, not Nikon or Canon. Sorry, hard to write Nikon and Canon. They will be bringing something better than Sony that is good for all. Then Sony will again and so on. Yeah, it's just going to keep growing. And like I've said to you, Mario, you really do hope that Canon release and Nikon release something good because we need them to release something good for Sony to innovate. Remember, if Nikon and Canon and everyone disappeared overnight, Sony would then have no reason to produce anything better. And we don't want that. We want Sony to innovate. And the more pressure that is put on them by other people, the better off we'll be. Remember, Sony also are in a really good position now because they have got now all those native lenses that work with their body that they've released, and they've also got the Sony manufacturing of the CMOS sensors. So that's also a really big plus. So Sony, you've got to remember too that Sony have been at this now for a number of years, and it's taken them a number of years to get to where they are with the A9 and the A7R3 and the A7 III. So it has taken a while for them to get there, and just wait until they release their next camera. I mean, I can't wait to see what they release with the A7S III. Robert saying happy birthday from the USA. Thank you so much, Robert. Dan saying hi from Florida. Hi, Dan. Gerald said, please plug your Facebook group. Good idea. I will. I'll do that right now. Please join us on this group, guys. Let me just open up Facebook. Where are we? I'm going to show you because please join it because it's fantastic and it's growing all the time. Join our photography and videography group. Look at this. How beautiful is my daughter? I adore her to death. Do you think we look alike, by the way? Let me just see. Let me bring this back. Do you think we look alike? Love my kids. So let me open up this photography videography school. This is it here. So please join us on this group, guys. It's for you. I've made this up. Let me just reduce this size a little bit so you can see it. I've made this group up for you guys. It's called the Photography Videography School on Facebook. I'll put the link down below. I think it's there now, actually. Again, weekly I do a competition. This week's competition was leading lines. So you can see the picture that I've actually selected there. We've now got around about nearly 1,600 people have joined. You can see that I've added this week's task as a macro task. I've asked people to submit their best macro shot, and I choose the winner at the end of the week. But it's for videographers as well. It's to share your Facebook pages. It's to share your YouTube. I've put on there when I was going to go on live on YouTube. People are sharing their work. They're also, you know, the rumours come on here. People ask for critiques. There's stacks of stuff that we're actually sharing on here. So please, if you can, join us on that group. I encourage you to share your business pages on there. Join us on there, guys. It really is the place that I'd love you to contact me, particularly ask questions for me rather than on my personal page. I'd love you to join on that site. I always answer everything. So please join us on that site. What else have we got? Thanks for saying it's your favourite Facebook group, Gerald. It's one of my favourite groups as well. It's fantastic. It's very positive. Jean said, if price is less of an issue, Sony 28f2. Yeah, and that's a really good lens too. You could get the 28f2. That's a fantastic lens. I forgot about that one. And 35 f2.8 are also options. Yeah, the Sony 28f2 will be a great one on for this type of work, actually. Mario said, 35 1.4 Samyang might be a little noisy, and that's why I'm saying you might want to stay away from the Samyang lenses for video. I got the 28 and 85 primes for video. Yep, they'll work fantastic. The 28's great video lens, actually. JD Ryder said smoke video was okay. Water would be better. It's a bit cold for water now, JD Ryder. I'm doing a waterfall one tomorrow, though. I don't think she'll be getting in the water, though. I can tell you it'll be freezing there because it's a real rainforest. Which 85? Well, I love the Sony 85 1.8. That's the one I'll be recommending people to buy, but I have the Batis and love that to death. I'm trying to place my order of the A8. What's that one? When Sony A7S III come out, well, I've mentioned that before. You'll have to scroll back and check out the video. We had a big discussion about that. Happy birthday from St. Paul, Minnesota. Thank you so much. Your daughter looks more like Kerry to me. Yeah, she's probably jealous because I'm much more attractive, Oreo. I love it. Gerald said, I have the Sony 28f2 and I'm super, and it's super for stills. Yeah, it is. That 28's great lens. Fast focusing, quiet, with a 49mm thread. And that's right, you can use that same thread that I said before. Johnny said, happy birthday, David. Wish you all the best. Thank you so much, Johnny. Mario said, how could she be your daughter? She looks 19 and you just became 28. I'm 59, Mario. I'm an old fart. I'm actually really old. I'm 59, so I'm not young at all. I don't hide my age at all. Don't worry about it at all. The funny thing is, I feel like I'm probably still 20, and I've never been any different. You're only as old as you feel. And yeah, like I said, I feel like I'm still 18. She is very pretty, Robert. Yeah, I agree. She's beautiful. She looks like Kerry. Stop fooling. Yes. Thanks, Michael. You guys. Oh, dear. Oh, I love it. All right, guys. Well, we might end it. There's any more last questions before we actually go? Don't forget to stay tuned. Tomorrow I'll be with Kiara doing that waterfall shoot. So stay tuned for that. Thursday or Friday, my time. It's going to be Thursday, your time in the US and Europe. I'll have the Sony Alpha Rumors and News, and that's the usual live show that I've got. Saturday, I might post that video, or Sunday, it'll be one of those 2 days where I'm taking you through that full wedding edit and talking about posing and what cameras I used and what lenses I used, what posing I used and things like that. So I will be taking you through that in the coming days as well. So stay tuned for that. Mario said I'm 56 and feel 22. I act like I'm 8. And I don't think guys ever change, Mario. That's the beauty of us guys, I think. Kerry always says to me, oh, God, you're like a big kid, and I really am. I don't think I'll ever change. I'll still be shooting when I'm 75, 80. I think I'll still probably be shooting. I'll be using the camera when they stick me in the coffin, I reckon. I don't think I'm ever going to change. And you know what? That's the beauty of this industry, because age has nothing to do with it. And that's why I always say to people, I've had some people say, oh, you're too old to be shooting. And I just laugh. I mean, would you say that to a great painter, And remember, this is art. It has nothing to do with age. It's to do with your vision, and that's the great thing with this. There's no reason why you cannot be shooting the same way you are when you're 18, 90. Honestly, you could keep going forever because it's an art, and that's the way you have to believe, and that's the way I definitely think as well. All right, guys, well, I'm going to go out and have a birthday coffee. Thank you so much for all the people that did make a donation. I really appreciate that. So thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to join the photography and videography school, because that certainly is a place where I want to expand this stuff that we're doing on YouTube for you guys as well. And you're right, age and size does not matter at all. I'm totally with you on that. All right, guys. Catch you all soon for the next video. Don't forget, please give it a thumbs up because other people will watch this video as well. So thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you all soon for the next video. Bye for now. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Catch you later, guys. Bye.